thanks for the invitation and your time. And basically, you asked me how agents can facilitate an effective implementation of complex agricultural systems. So I will start by presenting a little bit of myself, just putting in perspective that we are far away, but I'm in Uruguay right now, which is a country that is almost the size of Florida. So just putting in perspective in numbers here. I'm sharing the correctly my PowerPoint now. Okay, good. So this is a country that is the size of a state in Brazil, state of United States, is a small country, but really interesting with lots of grasslands and rangelands. Where I am right now, I work at INEA, that's the equivalent to USDA in the pasture and forage department. I'm now leading this group of researchers that basically work with genetics, agronomy, management, now all the breeding and validations. So we have all this in our scope, and I just introduced this to say you are all welcome to come see here and visit us. Well, so I will just depict a little bit the title. So when you say facilitated, I was remember all the literature that has recent literature about the role of advisors, no? Like this paper that says advice and advisors' roles about work on farmers. This is a paper from 2019, and this other one questioning the work of farmers, advisors, teachers, and researchers in these transitions. So basically, they are showing all these challenges that you as advisors must feel, and are welcome to after exchange a little bit about the challenge, the difference, no, when you're in a group or in an individual situation. So it goes from, and farmers may expect from hands-on expert, no, someone that shows exactly how to seed or something, like all the technical advisor role, consultancy, reflective, and a coach role, which is quite new, no? So it's a little like bringing all these psychological aspects into the point. Okay, so we're talking about facilitate and not just delivery, you know, like as in a few years ago, we used to talk, oh, let's transfer technology and all that. And now we're talking more about how can we facilitate knowledge exchange, no? Okay, and this in the context of a complex system. And why complex? And here, I really love it when Valal said this title of complex instead of ICLS, because there's this paper from Australia where they do have a project, a big project with integrated crop livestock systems. And what happened there, it's they were looking for achieve 60% of the potential audience. So it was like 24,000 farmers in a program extension, no? 9 regions. This is from the earliest 2000 years, and was $15 million Australian dollars for 5 years, and they were looking for 6-to-1 return, no, $6, $1. So they were looking for these numbers, and 6,800 farmers adopting the practices. So 1 in every 5 mixed farmers would in these 5 years would adopt integrated crop livestock systems. And what happened? It didn't happen. What happened? They did had 3,200 farmers adopting in the end, and a return of $3.4 per dollar invested. So not as they asked, so as they were intending, and they start discussing. And this is a really nice paper because it says contesting the targets of measurement success, because they here advocate that success, it's different when it's like adoption of something that's straightforward. I don't know, nitrogen, or let's say biological fixation in legumes. So they say here that integrated crop livestock systems are complex. They are not simple, they are not complicated, they are complex decisions. Because of course, and this is what you see soon in the games, that we were trying to talk about this complex where one decision implicates in another decision. So it's not straightforward like, oh, let's just improve this. Okay, how about money? How about food for animals? How about winter? How about summer? So all these we were trying to add. And because it's complex, it's not so simple to make, to encourage people and facilitate adoption. So that's really a big challenge. Okay, so we talked about facilitating adoption or facilitating implementation in a complex context. Okay, but how? No, which tools are available to us help? And here I may say that we do have, and I think in most part of the world, a lot of livestock tools, a lot of crop tools. No, let's think about, I don't know, a software for implement the economics of livestock, or let's talk about all the tools for fertilizing your crop. Okay, but what are the ICLS, the tools that are not just for one purpose and adapted for other, but created for the whole systems? And while we may find some few examples that are really integrated tools. And this is a challenge. So here I bring one more literature in case you wanna, and I can share later all the papers, you wanna read more about that. That's this paper of farmer advisors playing a key role on integrated crop livestock systems at farm level. And here I asked, I and a group of researchers asked in France and Brazil, how advisors who are dealing nowadays with integrated crop livestock system, how they do, which tools they use. And Marcelo helped me to translate. In Portuguese, advisors were using gambiarras. How do you say this in English?
Oof, they were not using formal tools. That would be the best.
Yeah,
Just
they were adapting.
rigging.
Yeah, like, so this is a challenge because there is all this, the knowledge you must have in crop and livestock, there is all this challenge. And well, okay, which tools can I have? Well, one tool, and we talked a little bit, and I provoked in the last meeting with Pedro, was, well, all these testing areas, no? And some producers and a lot of advisors back in Brazil, when I did my PhD in this subject, were talking about this. So this is an example here, and this is in a paper I will show later, where there is a farmer with lots of rice and beef cattle, all disconnected, the same farm, but disconnected. So they started with a 2.2% testing area in the whole farm. They just choose one paddock strategically to start a rotation and try to incorporate, to have, so here there is rice paddies and livestock coming into these areas. Today, see and test and have all these mistakes in a legal part. So if something goes wrong, doesn't affect the overall budget in a significant amount. And this example and more examples are in this paper where we talked from the game that was in a workshop, and I will explain more, until producers going to the field with their advisors and testing areas with integrated livestock, crop livestock systems, or testing pasture management strategies, all that. So here is another literature that can help, and I love that you always speak English, so it's so easy to share literature because you can access more literature than we that are not first language English speakers. Well, in this context of testing areas, that's a tool, no, testing areas, I also have the example when I worked in Idaho with this group of Westerns there, where we had like producers in Idaho and next to Idaho, Washington state in the Pacific Northwest. And I asked them why they were engaged. And in this case, they all had the same testing areas and was cover crops, not with animals, not always grazed, sometimes just cover crops in wheat areas, no? And they were talking about, oh, this is a learning opportunity. And some also mentioned this use of measurement equipments because university was going there and make the assessments. So they were engaged in these testing areas because they had first-hand data, generate visual interest. They want to see how to make cover crops work in the West because they were advocating, oh, there's all these studies with cover crops in the east side of US. How about here, no? So when I was in US, I could talk a little about that with that farmers, that group of farmers. And I remember asking about livestock and how they were thinking about this cover crop being grazed. And they were saying all this challenge, oh, we don't have more fencing here, we don't have water, soil compaction. They were afraid of soil compaction, pasture management. And here is interesting because they were mentioning a lot of that was missing, a lot that was needed, no? A lot to learn. They mentioned needs to be teach at university level. So they were saying the most agronomy careers doesn't emphasize livestock production, or sometimes vet professionals doesn't want to interact with agriculture. So all this need of thinking about integrated systems at college level. Then the lack of knowledge across the last generations. So some people mention, oh, my grandfather used to have livestock. But we don't have, there is 2 generations. We don't even know more how to raise. We don't even know how to make money. And some people talked about extension service with knowledge, like the importance of having extension agents. So like, if I understand correctly, you are all engaged in this challenge. So it's, I think if you work with integration nowadays, it's a really unique spot and important, and you may be rare to find, no? So this is really important. Okay, so we talked, okay, as tools now, testing areas is one, and what Marcelo asked me to talk more is about serious game. That's another tool. So this is important, and in my key take-home message in the end, I'll talk this again, because I don't think serious game can change the world nor anything of that. I know where it can fit, and I know that this is one of the tools. No? Well, there is all the planning and simulation tools. There is this Score Cub that's from France. There is some tools, and this I put it here like a tool that like someone fixing or making a Excel, you know, like, you know, you talk not Excel, you talk spreadsheet, no, in English. Okay, so all these tools. Well, so what's serious game? Let's think about all the learning tools now to teach, to train. We can have a speech, we can have a text, we can have scientific literature that I was talking, but there is gray literature, field days, video symposiums, all that. And serious game is one of that. Okay, one form. And it's basically learning while playing. There is this playing, no, there's the fun part. That's the fun factor, fun to play, and the educationally efficiency. So there is a learning content. So it's not just having fun, but at the end of the day, have a message to go home, no? So there's this concept saying serious games are designed for a purpose other than pure entertainment. So it's not just, I don't know, farm simulator, you know, the game that's just for fun. No, in this case, serious game has this serious component. And basically, what I more love about, and I'm most engaged in this, is because it's basically a different way of learning. Instead of passive, like now, you're all just listening me, and I am talking. So you may tomorrow remember 10% of this class. But on the other hand, if now I just say to you all guys, okay, you have 10 minutes to figure out this, let's see who goes first or who goes further. You are then in an active position, no? You're not just sitting and listening, you are engaged, and these will make, can generate emotions, and we will talk a little about that. Here I just saw, I put also another quote saying substantive transitions cannot occur without significant changes in human behavior and perceptions. So this fun, this engagement, this active learning is also part of this need of changing in human behavior, perceptions, how you see, how you look, how you experience. So all this is important. And so there's this learning goals, and we can talk more later. We have some time to discuss which learning goals do we need from each game, you know, because there's games that are just for you experience, not to co-design. Some are for co-design. There's different kinds of games. But basically, the game is the aha moment, no, in English, because there's authors that say that well-designed games are capable of generating emotional experience. So you are like angry, frustrated, excited, all these emotions, and this may inspire farmers to change their behavior. So when you feel emotions, this can help. Well, now I'll talk a little about the game we developed in Brazil that I use it with farmers, students. There's farmers that even contract me to go to their specifically farm and make a game adapt to their context. I will show you how all that started. Basically, this is the concept map. And in the left, we have a specialized system. That can be 2 farmers, or can be 1 farm. But basically, in 1 farm, where we do have livestock and crop, but they are not integrated, we may have, and this depends, of course, of size of farm and all that, but this is one example of a medium-sized farm in Brazil, where there is the farmer, the decision maker, the owner, and he is thinking in 2 colors here. He's thinking the crop yields, livestock yields. He has crop and livestock budget all separate. And what we're promoting is this system thinking. So ICLS thinking, no, thinking the system. In this case, we need to think about system budget and not just crop and livestock budget, because usually this is what happened in Brazil. Big amount of cash, all for crop, and this in a little competition with livestock, and not seen as the whole budget. Because look, if livestock just cycles nutrients, who pays this bill of nutrient? Because they are not exporting. So we here advocated that we need a system budget. So this whole system benefits from livestock and crops, and all this like timing, how long is the grazing period? This all, it's easier to solutionate it if you're not comparing and competing all the time livestock versus crop. And here there is this person who is not in this system. Here there is human resource with livestock and crop, and here there is this ICLS advisor that's a new person in the system. Okay, so first question that we worked was how to allow these transitions, no, to reintegration. And basically, we depict this in 2 questions. First is how to change mindset, so how to think about system. And the second is how to co-design sustainable systems. So, okay, in practice, let's take this 1,000 hectares. Let's Let's start from a situation where there is this amount of crop, hectares of crop and all that. So there is a departing point, and how can we co-design in space and time? These were the first questions. And basically what we did, we designed a workshop. And this workshop for mindset changing was like, let's bring all farmers to a town. And in the beginning was the capital. And we were thinking, okay, let's be outside of the farm in this context where it's easier to think out of the box, all that. And we started by deconstruction the modus operandi. What we mean by that? It's a little like bringing all the awareness on the current system's boundaries, no? Okay, if we're just doing, and here in southern Brazil, there's a lot of people that now it's 90% of the income is just from one crop, and this is soybean. There's all the challenge. Right now we had 3 years of drought, and this all Pedro set the context already. And basically people are always managing things separately. So here in this head, there's machinery, livestock, people, crops, all separate. So we said that we need to go through concepts and tools for understanding crop livestock integration, the base, soil health foundations, human component. So here we developed this workshop that we call it farm coaching, and we not only invited soil scientists, pasture scientists, economic scientists, but also a psychologist to talk about communication, assertive communication, to talk about engagement between relationship and between persons, to talk about ways of thinking, thinking about human health in this context, also connecting not just the soil health and animal welfare, but also humans, and all these expectations of the family, the succession and all that in count. So we did bring concepts, and then we did this exercise that is a serious game that was an experience through reconception, and then a co-design, a new life, new production system, where basically people draw some action plans and all that to have a starting point. But basically, and that's fun because now there is all this research, and I'll show a little about how the world of a serious game is big. But when we start, I must confess that we were looking for a step in this workshop where we went to the field, like, oh, let's do a hands-on part where we go to a farm or something. But we were far away from farms, and we were like, okay, how can we do something practical with also living the role now? And then we started thinking about a dynamic, we call dynamic in Portuguese, but like any exploration form where people were active and not passive, And then we developed, and we now learned that, and this is quite recent, the work of serious games. Here it's from this year, a paper that says a sustainable game changer, that they make a review. Each point here is one paper. So look, in this 96, 70, 80s, there was like 1, 2, 3 games. Nowadays, from 2003 to now, there's several games that are being developed. In the beginning, it was more for research, mediation, learning. Now we're talking a lot about this co-design. So, and actually, once we started thinking about serious game, I went to France, and then I developed this. I get to know all this world of games. In France, there is this platform, Gamai, where there's all the games for agriculture, alimentation, and environment. There's 84 serious games here. Here I summarize games that are in integrated crop livestock systems. And I show you some of them. There is this Segai. It's free. You can all see. You can use with students. Mainly people use it with students. And when you are clicking here in the strategic decisions, I also can indicate you putting Segai in YouTube, and there's a lot of videos showing this. It's quite interesting and fun. And people start doing decisions, and they have all this budget of, oh, you have farm diversification, low input system, biodiversity conservation, free time. So it's quite interesting, the badges they gave you. So this is like a game where people are looking for gaining all these badges. There's different kinds of games. This is another one, Forage Rummy, that's from France, where it's basically a budget, a pasture budget, where you have this herbage allowance and how much animals need. So they developed this board where you have stickers with pasture growth. Here it's in kilos, no, it's in metric system. And here down here, it's the diet cards where there's all the animals. So you can see along the year, it's 13, is not 12 because it's 4 weeks each period. No, so it's not exactly the months of the year, but it's mainly, no, it's 13 weeks. So how it's the offer and demand along the year. Basically, this is the discussion. And the game we developed was, this is the final boards. Basically, here is 4 groups. Each group has 1 board. And in the end, they must plan 1 to 3 years, summer and winter, how it's the use of land in both. And these stickers, the golden stickers, show the level of investment. So low, average, or high. And in the end, because they all depart from the same, we give like 1,000 hectares, 1,000 livestock heads, this amount of dollars and all that, same for all groups. So in the end, we can compare here and see, let's see each scenario, know how each group of farmers, of producers, made their strategy. So for example, here, white means cover crop, not graze it. So this group, these 3 groups use it. This last one, not use it. And we can then discuss why you didn't choose that, why you tried to have grazing and all that. So this helps they discuss between them, the groups that attended to the workshop, and in the end, they interact with the coaches. So here's an example. This hypothetical farm we already made with 200 hectares, 1,000, 3,000, 5,000. Depends on each region, what makes more sense to their context. And we can also have areas, for example, lowlands, where people produce rice, but if we play this game in another region, we may not use this because there is no rice, and then the configurations are different. So we adapt. Here is, there's an Excel, and spreadsheet, sorry, that makes all the calculations that is all automated. And I just saw that I put a screenshot in French, sorry. We played this game already in multiple places, but basically here in summer and winter, and there is this forage budget where they must achieve. And for finishing this, my explanations and start the interaction, and then I have more slides if you want, but I wanna preserve time for discussion. I wanna give 4 key takeaways. One is, a single game may not have a significant impact. It should be viewed as a tool. And I remember when I arrived in France and I was willing to write a paper about the game. We did all the experience in Brazil, and people asked me, Fernanda, do you think if your game were played not inside of a workshop, the results would be the same? And they said, no, of course not. Because I remember like they had all the context, the content before. So the game was in the between, no? So the game helped people think if they understood all the concepts and discuss the concepts, and then make it people more motivated and starting debate. So that's why I wrote 2 papers. First one is farm coaching, so it shows the whole process of farmers coming for a workshop, having all this construction phase, reconstruction and all that, and then having advising on farm, individual advising later on. So the game didn't directly changed everything in their farms, but it helped a lot in changing their mindset. So when they get home, they got motivated, and of course, in each case, they had to adapt it to their concepts with their advisors. Second takeaway, it's like the need of a technical message, you know, the serious part. And here in the game we developed in Brazil, the messages were, one, everything is interconnected. So what we mean by that is like it's system budget. And people, like farmers playing, were crazy because they were like, oh, I just finished the cropping planning. Where's the money for livestock? And I said, you just use it. Like you need to decrease your investment. If you cannot have all the money in the world, all that, you know, like life is it. And this is like, okay, this is one key points. Okay, we need a real situation. So let's make this system budget a challenge to them, not having as much money as they want. Let's make reinvestments over the years. So, okay, first years is hard, but second year, what happens if each year we reinvest 20% of the profit? No, so we increase the budget for the year. In what will be it's livestock or crops that we're going to invest, which will be the choices, no, all that. So the third key takeaway will be exactly in this. For me, and I think what was most successful, because I saw a lot of games that are not successful, okay? So, there is a recent paper that says how much can be deliverable from a serious game. They showed that the amounts of changes in before and later the game, and was not much. So I advocated, and it's a game that doesn't have all these numbers. I know, and I put it here now, that adding economic aspects helps the discussion, but it's complex, because which numbers are you using now? Soybean price in Brazil fluctuates a lot, livestock fluctuates a lot, and cost of a hectare depends where you are, all that. You must assume some parameters. You must use parameters that farmers relate. I remember one day playing this game with soybean farmers in a region, and some farmers, they bring from their pockets their numbers. They were like, you're saying this amount of the cost per hectare, let me see. Oh, it resonates with my numbers. So they were like untrusting before trusting the game, because they were really preoccupied that the simulations make it sense. And so I didn't use it all that for saying I didn't use historical numbers, because maybe historical numbers doesn't resonate with this, like this year numbers. And at the same time, I had to be a little conservative to say, okay, but can we use this number for the next 3 years? Yeah. Do you think this price of I don't know, rice will stay this consistent in the next 3 years? Let's be conservative, or not. Let's see what happened. Let's just change in the spreadsheet. and see what happens if the price of livestock goes down, no? All that. So I do encourage you, if you like to use a serious game in your work in one day, to try to use economic numbers, because, wow, producers love it to talk and discuss. And finally, the outcomes, our perception and our game, because it was like the interpretation of the final scenarios, when I showed you this image, was all based on the facilitators. So we have to have here researchers, advisors, people ready to discuss, because there's games, and you may see games in Europe and other places that have beautiful models behind, that if you do this, it shows, I don't know, how much soil erosion you have, all that. And in our game in Brazil, the interpretation was not yet connected, is the next step. So it depends a lot on facilitators' skills and expertise.